This is me. I'm dead.
And now that I'm dead, that means I'll never have to play Crash Bash ever again. What? That's what this video's about? I wrote it? Well, I guess that's what I'm being forced to play then.
In fairness, Crash Bash is fine under the correct circumstances, but I would go as far as to say that it is only fine. So long as you've got 2 or more friends to play with and you cut off your own air supply for 3 minutes, it's an above-average multiplayer party game featuring all of your best friends. Rash, Croak, Tinnitus, Dingy, Cholera, Brian, Cog, and Rigid. You can call it a Mario Party clone, but I call it a Mario Party friend with benefit. There's no commitment to a bigger idea, you just pick a point and get to it. It's a quick burst of excitement without any guilt attached, and then it's never spoken about until you're feeling up for it again next week.
My point is, Crash Bash isn't Mario Party, which is good for it. There isn't any board game you've got to worry about, all of the mini-games are action-based, and it doesn't take much explanation for you to jump in. You should give this a try if Mario Party isn't your thing, and you're looking for something with a little more...
It isn't a party, it's a bash. A crash bash. A crash bash wallop boom ting bang ding-a-ling a wop wop. Pick one of the 28 mini games and have at it. When you're in the mood for it, it's a decent time when you have friends to play with.
However,
everything I just told you comes with a catch. Okay, a lot of catches. If you picked this game up back in the year 2000, fresh off of the beige shelf that should be white, and expected to stick it in your Sony lid to get right into the action, you'd be quite disappointed to see that out of all 28 minigames, only 16 are available to you, which you'd think at least is a nice majority, but the truth is that it's actually 4. 4 types of minigames with 4 very slight variations on each that barely constitutes them being counted as a separate game. Do you not want to throw boxes at other players in the jungle? Then maybe you prefer a sewer but with power-ups, or a slippy ice floor with a penguin that can attack you, or the floor can now be broken in space. These aren't new minigames, and instead closer to level options and variables you should be able to toggle on and off or swap between in the pause menu. So how do you unlock the other 12 games? Well, unlike many other multiplayer party games, Crash Bash features a single-player adventure mode for the lonely disappointments to their parents, or 2-player adventure if you have a sibling they didn't flush. In order for you to unlock all 28 minigames for any crashing and or bashing you may be doing in the future, you have no choice but have to go through this adventure mode. And even though that's a bit stupid and annoying for a multiplayer party game, this wouldn't and shouldn't be the end of the world. However, playing the adventure mode of Crash Bash is one of the worst things I think I've ever done in my life. Not just in video games, not just on the PS1, not just in Cash Banuka, not just for the adventure mode itself being boring and repetitive, but for all the additional horrific things it demands of you in order to unlock the rest of the minigames. Finishing the adventure mode in Crash Bash is akin to running yourself over. And yes, I said finishing, not completing. That's another mess entirely. But considering how much bullshit you have to go through to unlock every available minigame, it's close enough to completion that it might as well be. A few years ago, I even streamed myself doing it, and it went really well.
I got the power up here that sets everyone on fire. That's fun. Wait for it. That is Cortex!
All you have to do is look up Crash Bash speedrun attempts on YouTube and you'll see exactly how bad it is. There's a reason that most of the speedrun world records have differences between each other, not by milliseconds or seconds, but by minutes.
By the way, don't be mistaken. I'm the Cash Banuka Bingo Birthday Big Bang Boil Boy. I know that there are cheat codes in this game to unlock everything right off the bat.
If you have any other copy of Crash Bash, American, Japanese, whatever, all of those cheat websites are as useful to you as an arse with a smaller arse on it. Do you want to unlock the Dante's Dash minigame? Collect 27 trophies. And how do we do that? By beating every level in the game. Gee, thanks for the cheats, game facts. I sure hope nobody misreads the Q in your website name. Fair enough, I guess you could use emulation, but first of all, when this game came out, it wasn't very common or easy. Even if it was possible, getting it to work with local multiplayer would be even more difficult, and emulation or not, it's still not an excuse to me because this was how the game was originally made, designed, and sold on the shelves. So in short, the only ways to enjoy this multiplayer party game immediately as a multiplayer party game, you either force yourself to enjoy just playing 4 variations of 4 minigames, get a region-compatible console and then the original European Black Label release to cheat, or you hate yourself.
And I'm privy to a little bit of hating myself, so that's what I'm doing. I'd rather do that than admit I'm a European.
Alright then, here we go again. Lovely to see you. Crash Basham. You know, it's been so long, I forgot that it even warns you on the front about its stress level and how it will affect you. 3+ fingernails that will fall off. You've got to love this text here with the quotes as well. Available winter 2001.
Yeah, it's available winter 2001. Your flight will be leaving at 1:30. I love you.
Hog Ride is a horrid level to perfect for a Platinum Relic. Luckily, I've done it so many times now, it isn't too taxing for me, but just getting to that point made me want to shave with a cactus. The level of practice you need to perform the utter absurd stipulation of getting a Platinum on this stage is a joke. But not a funny joke, a joke that I hate so much that I have to write a letter of complaint to the BBC. What you need to do in Hog Ride to get a Platinum Relic is start boosting on the first speed pad you see, and then that's it, good luck. For the entire stage, you cannot lose this boost, and while you're boosting, your turning is so slow and heavy, even my knees think, damn, I wish I was as stiff as that. If the road were empty, it would be fine, but it isn't. There are other racers looking to nudge into you and ruin the boost, ramps that if you go over will ruin your boost, and police cars that peacefully sit there and do nothing, which, let's be honest, is not realistic at all. The time crates as well, they all need to be broken to get the relic, but they're positioned in places where you need to preemptively turn into them, and then preemptively turn out of them to slip through the gaps that are just about as wide as your bike. And by the way, the edge of the road also ruins your boost, so Hog Ride in essence is a tightrope walk on a motorbike. Yeah, it doesn't even matter if you wait behind the starting line for ages for all of the other racers to leave the track, you still have to deal with some of the tightest, flawless driving you'll ever experience in any game. And yes, all of the future bike levels are a piece of cake compared to this one, because they have moments where keeping your boost going is impossible, and time crates that are in the air that you have to ramp jump over, which will ruin your boost, so you have no choice but to slow down, but can still get the Platinum. Here though, nah, you gotta keep the boost going for the entire thing, and it's also harder on the Insane Trilogy than on the original game because of the control differences. Hog Ride? At this point, I prefer riding a hog, and I think Crash wants to ride one in another way. Tiny from Crash 2 with all the platforms falling, Koala Kong from Crash 1 with you needing to fire projectiles back at him, Crunch's final battle in Wrath of Cortex for how all of the new masks are used against you at once, and Engine from Crash 2 with those lasers that dart across the screen and you have to jump or duck under. The best thing though is that if you're a Crash fan, you'll get a kick out of all of this, but if you aren't a Crash fan, it's irrelevant because all the levels and bosses by themselves are so tightly designed that it stands out and excels purely on its own merits. The noticeable gameplay callbacks at that point just become a bonus.
Now where was I? Ah yes, bonus levels.
And at the end of this bonus level, you may see Torna's mug slapped on a Cushing, but as you probably noticed, she looks a bit different in this game. It's because she's from another dimension though, so don't worry. If you're more into that than into that, you even get to play as her, which was a pretty awesome time if you ask me, even if she gets really pissed off with you if you want to replay a level. I wasn't a big fan of the hitbox on her spin kick. I think it was a little bit too high for my liking, but it reminded me too much of Coco's kick from Wrath of Cortex for me to care. And of course, you get the grappling hook, not only for the platforming, but for box breaking too. All the adult references in this game are almost too many to mention, not just with Entropy potentially having fun with himself, but with everything else, from Torna's new design and camera angles that show her off, to even the names of costumes and levels. Marsupus Erectus, Booty Calls, Da He Blows, Mother Clucker, Ship Happens, Big Horn Energy, Rock Blocked, Booty Seeker, Persona, even the Banuka himself is back to doing his air humping dance. I was personally shocked when I saw that big old 12 age rating sticker on the front of the box here, and then I was even more surprised when I saw how far they stretched that age ratings restrictions for some of the stuff they included here. Oh, and by the way, you don't only get to play as Torna this time around, but even Cortex as well as Dingadar for the first time, who also have their own stages and totally unique control styles. Don't twist your bra up though, because the core of Crash 4 from beginning to end, whatever alternate characters and control styles there are, is always about platforming and box breaking, making these moments of controlling new characters with new abilities more of a joy than I was expecting. Dingadar doesn't have his trademark flamethrower, which I found quite disappointing to be honest, but he makes up for that with a monstrous spin, this amazing vacuum gun that absolutely destroys boxes, and a gliding hover ability that can be linked into other box bouncers after you've landed. You also get to use the vacuum to suck up and fire TNT crates at enemies and other boxes, which once again stays true to Crash's platform box-breaking roots, while providing a new and unique way of interaction with that gameplay style, making the Dingadal parts worth it tenfold. Cortex isn't quite as good, but I still found him a fun time. He's basically the same as Crash, but has a pathetic jump and no slide, instead giving you this dash ability that propels Cortex's enormous fat head towards everything in a perfectly straight line. He also gets this awesome little gun that not only breaks boxes from a far distance away, but also cycles enemies between a solid rock platform and a bouncy jelly platform, which once again creates unique situations around Crash's core platforming and box breaking mechanics by making the enemies just as important to the level design as the floor you stand on. So Crash of the Titans on the Nintendo DS is a game that greets you with Crash looking at possibly the worst he's ever looked. Hey there, man. You look healthy. Well, I suppose I need to pick a save file, and whoever had this cartridge before me had a file on here called Badass. I need to start on a fresh file, and my name is Grimp. I've got a question for you. Do you like Crash of the Titans on Xbox 360 and PSP? Well then, have I got some great news for you. I think I actually prefer this one over all of the other ones. I mean, the levels are still long, the gameplay is still repetitive, and it is still yet another version of Crash of the Titans, but at the very least, they do try to make the DS version its own thing instead of exactly the same thing but with worse graphics. The levels themselves, while still long, are a little bit shorter than the main game. The platforming is a little bit more interesting. Plus, I've got to say, this is the best version of the Crash dance I think I've ever seen. Look at the confidence in that hip thrust. It's a statement. Look at the certainty. Look at the conviction. And then it goes and ruins everything by including pointless touchscreen mechanics. It's a Nintendo DS game, so I'm not surprised, but it's still very annoying. If you want to possess a stunned enemy, you need to swipe the screen towards the direction that the enemy is. And the same goes for firing projectiles, which would be fine, except most of the time it barely registers or outright doesn't work. Oh, and did you think the PSP Mind Over Mutants sounded bad? And you, sir, have not heard Crash of the Titans on the DS. What's next? Mind Over Mutant on the DS. Yeah, because you know what's even better than 2 versions of Mind Over Mutant? 3 versions of Mind Over Mutant. I just don't understand this. Did all of these multiple versions of Titan sell well enough to justify making this? And what do you know? It's exactly the same thing as the Xbox 360 and PSP version. Wait, what? No, hang on. Is this a 2D Crash platformer, like the GBA games? And we can bounce on crates, double jump, belly flop, slide, and slide jump, and even do the Death Tornado spin glide? My god! Thank you! Thank you, Mind Over Mutant DS! Don't let this game trick you like it did me. For a good 5 minutes, I thought we had something different here that I could happily recommend. But once you realise it is exactly the same mindless button-mashing, monster-stunning, tree-breaking gameplay you all know and know, but now it's on a more restrictive 2D plane, giving you even less chances for combat variety and chances to get away from enemies, you then sit back and realise, gosh, this really is the worst version of the Titans and Mutant formula that you can play. You can only move left and right, which is extremely limiting in a beat-em-up styled game with enemy groups and any monster that's taller than you. You just can't avoid most of the attacks thrown at you, which is particularly irritating when the bigger enemies attack faster than your button mashing can physically do. Every encounter with a big monster will turn into a single button smashing game of whose health bar empties the fastest. Oh, and you see him down there? Yeah? Bloody him. He never shuts up. Also, what in the veiny flaps is this? They didn't even bother voicing the cutscenes for this one, and it came out after Titans on the same bloody console. Okay, I'm done. No more Titans, no more Mutants. I've talked about those series of games even more than the good Crash games he's actually best known for. So I think it's time to move on to something else. What's next? Thank you, child. The story here is that Cortex is a baddie, Crash is a goodie, and you need to stop Cortex before he slithers into your bottom. Oh, and it's in 2D, so just like Mind Over Mutant DS, you can't really do much with enemies other than hit one button over and over and over again until one of you dies. This is downright embarrassing. I can't think of any other Crash game that has had as many official console ports as Crash of the Pissing Titans, and now you get to play it again, but with very stiff controls and cardboard cutout. Look here, even Aku Aku is fed up with this shit. Why does he have the nose of Miss Piggy?
So in that case, while we're still on this weird figure high, why don't we take a look at these action figures from Head Start? These are pretty cool little things based on Cash Banuka 4 in a big tent, meaning each figure doesn't only come with one of the new masks from the game, but just like the game, they also feature 11 points of articulation. They also show off Crash in a few of the costumes from the game, including the biker jacket. This figure alone was worth it for me. It looks great. I would have bought this with or without me making this video. I'm a right cuck. This Coco figure looks dead serious though. What is with her face? Who pissed in her cornflakes? Why are you judging me for buying toys? It says they're 5+, that's me. I'm 5+ by 24 years. Shove off. I don't know, man. Something looks a bit off with this Cortex figure. He looks about ready to do the bump. What shade of lipstick is that, Ned? By the way, I got all of these figures brand new from Amazon, and whether it's from the supply chain or the delivery, I'm not sure, but where some of these figures are boxed and packaged perfectly, other ones arrived like this, and I have no idea why. Are they old returns sold to me as new? This injustice won't stand. Stop looking at me like that, fruity Cortex.
The thing is though, so far at least, these are the only available figures from this line of toys, except for one, a limited edition golden Crash figure. And how do you get that one? By getting it in a pack with 3 other figures that you already have. This is upside down, isn't it?
The things I do, eh? And all just so that I can say, look, there he is. It's Crash. But one ugly colour. Here's another one from Head Start. It's yet another Crash figurine, but a little bit bigger, and it comes with a free lick. It's basically the same idea as the other ones, but now you can swap out the hands with hands, and swap out the mouth with... Oh dear, that's horrific.
I have a Crash Bandicoot adult colouring book. For adults. That do colouring. I mean, I don't. Just look, I'm not...
You know what? I feel like I unfairly skimmed over this thing a second ago. Yeah, I couldn't believe that this was a real thing until I found it. A Cash Banuka colouring book. Clearly not from the UK because, you know, it's spelled wrong. Look, you speak English and we're from a country called England. We are correct. Cope and seethe. I'm not massively one for colouring, but I still loved looking through the pictures here and seeing the possibilities. Oh! Crash, speak to me. What happened to you? Your eye left you. Why do you look like an old man? Here is an image of Coco, either running away from a boulder or wearing a massive hat. Ooh. Coco, are you okay? Why do you have a chin from Dr. Seuss? Are they human teeth? If you're the creative type but not hugely sold on a book, may I interest you in a Crash 4 pre-order cardboard cube construction kit for all the moments that you wish Dingodar looked like a 1950s TV. Cortex is a block of cheddar.
Either way, even though I do think that some of these books' pictures are a little bit suspect, I still think this thing is pretty neat.
Here is an extremely rare Japanese-only Santa Claus plush from the late 90s. I'm not sure where it's from exactly, but all I can say is that it's not for sale. Well, then why did I buy it then? This is completely adorable. It's perfect. No notes. Even with that colossal bowling ball nose, I now have a new Christmas tree topper. Part 1. The first part. The game opens up with the sound you hear when it's more than a fart.
Sony Computer Entertainment Europe presents.
Is this voiceover very unfitting for a party game about an orange rap? Surprisingly, no it isn't. Alright, time to create my save file. My name is Tramp, and for this game I usually pick Tiny as my main because he's actually quite big, and that's funny, but for the sake of being different, I'll pick Koala Kong. Partly because he has the same stats as Tiny, and partly because I've never seen anybody so proudly celebrate standing in their own urine. Here we have the opening cutscene, and the story is about good and evil. So, when do you start to play? Well, if you stop being so impatient, I'll tell you.
Even the damn manual is hell-bent on not giving you anything. You exist to be read for information. Why are you keeping me from the information? Do I have to unlock it in the game?
So in order to illustrate to you just how bad this game is for unlocking everything, I figured it would make sense to walk you through the adventure step by step with me so I can explain it and you can experience secondhand embarrassment over the fact that I'm doing this and I turned 30 this year. Minigame 1 is Crash Ball. Basically, it's 4-way Pong, and you can kick the balls back with the pink box button. As soon as I began, the very first thing that happened in the entire game for me was this. Now, believe it or not, in hindsight, that was the worst part of the game for me, because it was the very first thing I saw, and it lulled me into a false sense of hope that the rest of the game would be like that. The minigame itself is fun enough, and within only a couple of minutes, we've won our first match. Okay, right, here's how it goes. For every minigame, all of them that you're about to see, in order to get the basic trophy to beat it, and in the case of the locked minigames, unlock them for multiplayer, you have to win the minigame 3 times in that session. You don't have to do it in a row, but you have to do it 3 times every time. And even though though this is just the first minigame, you feel that sting as soon as you win the second round and realize how much time it actually took you to win both of those rounds and then have to go through it all again for a third, and God forbid you lose an attempt and have to throw another attempt in there to waste more of your time.
I've also just noticed, what is that ridiculous dark chocolate shard sticking out of Kong's head? Is that supposed to be hair?
The minigame after this is Polar Panic, another decent minigame where you each have to waddle around on the backs of polar bears while you press square to give everybody directions to the tour of the N-Gage submarine. It's very simple shit, but at least there's a drone in there spitting power-ups at you to keep things interesting. My favourite one, you can be flattened by a collection of 500 irritable bowel syndromes. Win 3 times and on to the next level. At this point, I was having a decent enough time. Yeah, you know, on level 2. Pretty low bar. And I was ready for whatever could possibly be next. Well, this is boring. Then on to minigame 4, Jungle Bash, which I personally feel right at home in, seeing as it's been a very long time since I've played this game, and yet I was easily able to blow up Dingodile and Crash with the same box to kill them at the same time, and the game was not expecting me to do something so great because Dingodile didn't even fall down when he lost all his health and looked right at me as if to say, how the hell did you do that, before suddenly dying. After all 3 wins of 4 minigames, you have all 4 trophies you need for the first boss fight against Papu Papu, everybody's favourite pregnant tribalman. And like in every other appearance he's ever had in any Crash game, he's very easy and doesn't bother moving. Yes, I know that in Crash Team Racing he does move, but that doesn't count because he's driving in a cart, which means he's sitting down. My point is, he's a lazy piece of shit.
They made one more Spyro GBA game, known everywhere as Spyro Orange, the Cortex Conspiracy.
No.
Although it's more commonly known in the UK as Simon Fudge. And not only is this the final standalone Spyro game on the Game Boy that wasn't a port, but it was also a crossover game. And a crossover game with another platforming juggernaut that you all know and love.
Is it Snoik?
No, Eggman. Oh yeah, after years of suspense and build-up, teasing fans all over the world by Naughty Dog and Insomniac hiding Crash and Spyro demos in each other's PS1 games, the 2 best-known PlayStation mascots were finally getting together on a system that needed a lamp. And yes, this also means Spyro and Crash's villains team up too, this game having Ripto and Cortex as bad guys. And the story they have here is that Ripto and Cortex team up to stop Crash and Spyro. And look! Oh my god, guys, there he is! Together on screen in the same game for the first time ever! And we become best friends after a boss battle where Spyro stands still, does absolutely nothing, and murders Crash with Molotov cocktails. What I don't understand, though, is that if it worked in Spyro Orange, why doesn't it work for me on Tinder? What we have here is a Simon side-scroller, which, you know what, I'm not completely against. We've had 3 games of bastard squares taking all of our jobs! And now we have this. I'm fine with it. And we can run, jump, and... yes, we don't charge anymore and we don't glide, 2 of the things that made Simon Simon. A controversial move that I will never understand, but not as much as how I don't understand this. This is the replacement glide, everyone. Having a mid-air fit. And you know what? I wouldn't mind the lacking inclusion of 2 of Spyro's most defining things if the flame wasn't a useless spit on the floor that never hits any enemies, and if it didn't control as slippery as it does. You don't need to throw soup at Van Gogh to protest oil. Just make people play Spyro Orange and they'll never want to see oil again. I am barely just about to make the jumps on tiny platforms here, and most of the time I do, it isn't without jittering on the D-pad to land accurately because of just how oiled up the floor feels all over the game. It's worse than your local kebab shop, and once you mix already slippery controls with slippery ice in the ice world, just burn it, make it water, I'll drink it. This can't be all the game is though, and you're right, so what else do you do here? You find portals to mini-games, beat them, and that is it. Spyro Orange is a minigame collection in disguise, and not a very good one. This is what the game considers a fully fledged minigame. Do you want to play Breakout, but while the ball is on a tractor? Do you want to play a slow anti-gravity mech game where you collect 1 bullet at a time and fire 1 bullet at a time? Do you want to play an auto-scrolling flying shoot-'em-up stage where nothing happens? Do you want to play an auto-scrolling flying shoot-'em-up stage where nothing happens? Do you want to play an auto-scrolling tank shoot-'em-up stage when... oh, wait, sorry, let me just flip this over. Do you want to play an auto-scrolling flying shoot-'em-up? Repetition is this game's mantra, and even for the ones that don't copy each other or repeat, every single minigame here is dreadful. In fact, it can all be perfectly summed up by the first ever portal you jump into. Spyro very slowly jumping over holes in a Jeep. And that's it. That's the Spyro Orange experience condensed, and for the love of God, keep to the sides of all of the flying stages because the middle will always trap you into a game over that you can't see coming. Stay away from the center. Like a pizza. Nobody wants that.
that bit. And some of these mini games go on for an eternity. I don't need to tell you this. When me and my sister were kids, I got Crash Purple for Christmas while she got this, and she loved it. I've never played a game before where the game itself feels like it doesn't care. I've never been more acutely aware of a game nearly reaching sentience and telling me itself it is bored. Spyro Orange is alive and wants you to end it. Even Moneybags doesn't give a shit here. All he does is ask for money so you can buy trading cards, which do absolutely nothing. And the shopping experience itself... Wow, I love shopping here. Do you have a loyalty card? The only real triumphant moments of the game appear when you win a minigame. And even then, Spyro doesn't even look like he knows what just happened. You did it! You know what theme I've noticed throughout this whole game? Depression. I'm being serious. I think this game is about depression. This new character, Blink the Mole, is always hiding underground, away from the sun. In Cortex's boss fight, he just gives up halfway through and accepts his inevitable death. Whenever Spyro wins tug-of-war matches against creatures trying to destroy his world and kill his friends, he looks sorry for them. Sergeant Bird hung himself, and in every cutscene, Spyro never looks happy. Follow me, Crash. Bosses don't even try to hurt you. They're more interested in jollying themselves or slumping left and right over and over again while all you do is jump over them to win. The only real challenge is with Crush and Gulp together, and even then, Gulp tries so little to actually hit you that Spyro falls asleep.
The whole game, from start to end, took me 46 minutes to finish. And 5 of those minutes were when I paused the game because I had to take a massive crap. So in an effort to add more value to the game, do you know what they did? They locked the final world out until you beat every minigame before it 3 times each.
What? Everything again? 3 times each? When most of the minigames are copies of each other anyway? Are you trashed? No, not having it. I am not having it. Not having it. Jim Caddick, 28, male, not having it!
Let's be real, you'd have to be mental to play the whole game again 2 more times, with tiny little changes in difficulty, just so you could get to the last world.
So you get to the final world of the game, and lo and behold, it's exactly the same as all the other worlds, with the same minigames, and the same slipperiness, the same pitiful everything. With the final boss being a carbon copy of the final boss from Crash Bandicoot Purple, which you didn't have to access in that game by beating every minigame 2 extra times, and finally ending with Spyro looking like... But my absolute favourite bit, the best bit of the game entirely, is that near the end, there's the hardest platforming sequence in the whole thing, full of long jumps, airborne enemies, leaps of faith, and it takes a while to get through it. But once you do get through it, the reward waiting for you at the end is Crash Bandicoot. The hidden secret of the game, locked behind the hardest part of it, is one of the main characters.
I'm not exaggerating when I say this is one of the worst games I've ever played.
So I played this game on the PS4 Pro, and honest to God, I haven't been this impressed with a console 3D platformer's graphics in a long time. If this was on PC, obviously that's a different ballgame, but currently Crash 4 isn't. So the fact that we constantly have this much detail bursting at the seams, and draw distance is this massive, yet the game still runs at a smooth and consistent 60 FPS is incredible even for the PS4 Pro, especially with the Insane Trilogy being locked to 30 FPS on the same console. I loved the look of this game from the second I saw it, then I started playing it and loved it even more. Look at the amount of shit going on here. Look at how vibrant and beautiful it is. And again, look at how smooth it's running despite all of it. Take the technicalities away for a second though, and you still have the most cartoonish and bounciest looking Crash game out there, with stuff you'd never expect to see, and creativity seeping out of every orifice, especially in the alien planet stages of Bermugula. Some of the stuff that happens here I never saw coming. It's really cool. There's great use of squash and stretch in cutscenes and during the gameplay, spectacular animations that extend even to the map screen, and of course there are the suitably adorable and expressive character designs, with that one character in particular getting the most drastic makeover that really accentuates certain parts of the body. If the original plan of Naughty Dog all those years ago was to take the insanity of a Warner Brothers cartoon and adapt it into a 3D platformer, I'd say Crash 4 gets it the the most correct. They even brought the death animations back. Not to mention, the references to older games and background details are absolutely everywhere, from Wrath of Cortex to Twinsanity, and even the GBA games. Even Nitrous Oxide makes an appearance in this game, the joke character that was deliberately terrible because Naughty Dog didn't care enough about Crash Team Racing's story became a mainstay, and he even has a picture of himself in his own bedroom, the prick. He looks like a fish. Oh god, I didn't need to know that Oxide had a wife. Do you think Oxide likes fish fingers? The game sounds great too. The voice acting is great stuff. I've already spoken praise for Lex Langer's Cortex, but the rest of the cast are fantastic too. And in Engine's case, he sounds way more nuts and robotic than he ever did in the Insane trilogy. I mean, yeah, they only really duplicated the dude's voice and then pitched it up and pitched it down by a few semitones to give like a G major effect. All of the masks sound great too, as does Dingodile, who hasn't spoken this much in any Crash game before, but I welcome it. Then we have the soundtrack, which is not my favorite, to be honest. For how long I spent on this game, I thought that more of the soundtrack would sink in, but that didn't happen. Maybe I was concentrating too hard on everything else. There's way more moody and cinematic pieces here compared to the other Crash games that always relied on bouncy, upbeat, and unique melodies that were at the forefront of the action and not really a part of the atmosphere. Not to say it's bad here, I just think it doesn't have the same oomph or impact as other Crash games. It doesn't stand out, and lots of tracks blend together for me sometimes, especially with how much they rely on xylophones and marimbas. And for me, most of the best tracks of the game were just remixes of older tunes, like with all of Cortex's themes throughout the game. But still, it is all good stuff. It's not bad, and a few pieces I really loved, like the theme song of the game. Then there's Hook, Line, and Sinker, Offbeat, Snow Way Out, Bears Repeating, and my favorite track from the whole game, Out for Launch. I also found it really cool how the tracks were affected by the mask power-ups whenever you were allowed to use them, with Iki Ika reversing the current song, Akano speeding up the percussion and making it sound all stuttery, Kapuna Wa slowing the whole thing down, and Lani Loli adding this weird flangey reverby effect to make it sound like you're stuck in a tin can. Brilliantly enough, they even managed to throw in quite a lot of the retro PS1 tunes to really tickle your knees with nostalgia. But when do you hear these classic tunes in the game? Why, in the flashback tape stages, of course. A new part of the Crash formula that I like to look at as a mix between Embryo and Cortex bonus routes in Crash 1 and the Crystals and No Death bonus platforms from Crash 2 and 3. Throughout all of the Crash and Coco stages, at some point you'll run across a VHS tape to collect. They're absolutely impossible to miss, hence the Crystal comparison I made, but the caveat is that to grab this tape, you need to reach that point of the level without dying a single time. To start with, this is absolutely no issue at all. The first few tapes in the game pop up like less than a third into a stage, but as the game goes on, they appear later and later and later, to the point where they're practically at the very end of the stage. Personally though, I think you should try going after them, not only because it adds a little bit more length to the game, but because you also unlock some new levels to play, the flashback levels in the hub world, which are these extremely cool stages that put you in the world of taped VHSs from Cortex and Brio's original experiments with Crash and Coco before they escaped his castle. You get some great dialogue in the background, great PS1 music to jam to, tons of background details, and then this is where I bring up the Cortex and Embryo bonus stages from Crash 1 comparison, because the difficulty spike with these is immense. The tapes provide you with some of the strictest jumps I've ever played in a 3D platformer, and that's even when you aren't going for all the boxes in order to get the platinum medals for each of them. But rarely is it ever unfair. They're almost puzzle levels in how they're designed, so patience and persistence is the name of the game, mixed in with a little bit of trial and error, but not too much. There's even multiplayer in the game, but Jesus, this is no Crash Bash 2. All you get to do is 2 mini-games involving you passing the same controller around, where you either break boxes in a combo until you hit a checkpoint, or race as fast as you can until you hit a checkpoint. And you swap the controller with another player every time you hit a checkpoint and you beat their previous score. Great. But hey, at least it netted me my platinum trophy.
The first thing we're going to look at is wallpapers for Crash HD 4K. Nice and simple. Let's give it a look.
Maybe the games themselves are better, so I'll download a few proper ones and we'll be right as rain.
So the first proper game we're going to be looking at is Crash Bandy. Time to start the game up then. Crash Bandy on Android. A game where crabs slide on oil, you walk into crates to make them fall apart, you jump on bouncy boxes without ever moving your legs, and Aku Aku is bold. Oh, hole. A shit. Well, I just broke the only box I could use to get around it, so what do I do now? Oh, of course. Well, hey, at least they managed to steal the Crash Bandicoot staples like TNTs.
That game was pretty good, but I've got to say, the worst part of it was the title. Come on, guys.
Work on your grammar.
Crush Bandy Fox Adventure. You know what? You should never judge a book by its cover unless it's this one. Let's give it a look. Well, the game doesn't load. I tried multiple times to get it working, but it just kept crashing right as it opened up. All I get is half a second of a quaint little cabin and an orange hairy truck, then it stops immediately. I can't play this one, and that makes me sick. Alright, fine, let's try another one, like Super Crash Battle Adventure. Right, so at first, this game also refused to load, and I was really disappointed because how could you not want to see what is beyond this gorgeous title screen and the game logo in Times New Roman? I kept pressing start, but nothing was happening. I was starting to get really pissy, and not the warm kind, but then all of a sudden after press number 72, we get the PSP version of Crash of the Titans. Yeah, that is all that this is. A direct port of the PSP version of Crash of the Titans, but interrupted every 60 seconds with an ad for Victoria's Plums. I mean, if you ever wanted to play the PSP version of Crash of the Titans with touch controls and constant adverts, then you're all set. What? Is that not enough? You know what? I wish I could find Jesus, because after looking at these 2022 Crash plushes from Play by Play, I need the help of the Lord. There is no amount of squishing or yanking that you can possibly do to make these look appealing. What child wants to snuggle this? If one of my kids wanted one of these, I'd swap the kid out for another one. Look at him grinning at you with his Chad arms. Why is he so top heavy? He's built like a brick shithouse. Then there's this masked version of the plush, which looks like Aku Aku was fused onto Crash's face like an alien movie. And then there's Cortex. Yep, there he is. What's your favorite part about him? That he has broccoli hands? Or that he's shaped like a baseball bat. But yeah, I don't like these, and this was not the only time Play by Play made Crash plushes. Here's a vintage one from 2001. With a suction cup on it, you know, just in case he's finally had enough and wants to end it. But that does mean you can put him anywhere to watch over you. He can watch you in the living room, he can watch you from the flowers, he can watch you in the car, he can watch you in the garden, he can watch you in the fridge, he can watch you in the shower, he can watch you from the doorbell, he can watch you under the table, please wear trousers. I prefer this design to the other Play-by-Play plushes, but it's still not that great. What is going on with that hairy worm on his face? I'm pretty sure Crash has 2 eyebrows, right? He looks like a Greek used car salesman.
And I guess business hasn't been doing too well. Between you and me, he got caught for tax evasion.
And this wasn't the only time some madman stuck a suction cup on Crash's head. Here's another one from the year 2000. This is the most vile thing I've ever seen.
Here's another vintage plush. Easily my favourite one. From 2001, once again from Play by Play.
This isn't the most vintage Crash plush that I own, but the anatomy is perfect, the design is old school Crash and not Dwayne Johnson. It's exactly how I remember Crash looking in the face when I was a kid, but in plush form. No complaints. This is bingo bingo nice boy. Well, at least this one is a lot better than this other one I found from 2001. As far as I'm aware, this is the same plush from the same year, but from Universal Studios Australia. And I've got to say, Australia, this is one of the only video game mascots you have, and you decided to put a dead skunk on his head. This wasn't the only time either. Check out this Universal Studios Australia plush from 2005. You think the Crash of the Titans design is bad? Well, take a look at this vermin. His arms are lumpy. How can his arms be lumpy?
And just look at his eyebrows. How could they do—
Actually, you know what? I take all of that back. Here is an American Universal Studios plush from 1998, and blow me, what is this? I didn't know they did a plush of Donald Trump. The same people that made those Crash 4 figures that fell out of the box from earlier also made this. That's not Crash Bandicoot, that's Winnie the Pooh. This one blows chunks and sucks them back in again. There's nothing else to say about it. It isn't cool, it isn't cute, it isn't even hot. I didn't know Crash's special power was keeping nuts in his mouth.
Oh, bother, I'm Australian.
And then, just when you thought that the plushes couldn't get any worse,
I am absolutely certain this is another bootleg. I know, I broke my own rules again, but come on, I couldn't not get this. I don't even want to take him out of his airtight sack. It's like I discovered a fossil. I hate it. I've got to be fair. I suppose I should take him out and get a proper look. Well, here we are. His hair is a twig. And what is going on with the rounded teeth? He's not Crash, he's Wallace. And I know what you're all probably thinking. Cads, if you have taken a couple of liberties for buying bootleg merch, then did you find the original Japanese bootleg plush that would then be turned into fake Crash in the official canon? No. I scoured the internet, from eBay International to websites where you could buy a wife, and I couldn't find a single one. And out of everything else I managed to find for this video, that's saying a hell of a lot for how coveted or rare it must be.
Either way, that is it for bootlegs, I promise. But let's carry on with some more official Crash plushes, like this one. It's Crash in scuba gear. It's pretty cool.
This here is from Kelly Toy in 2005, and yeah, I'm not a massive fan of his floppy emo hair, his Jay Leno chin, his gangly horse riding legs, and his slightly dirty stomach. What does that belly button cheese smell like? Do I need to air it out with the officially licensed Crash Bandicoot air freshener? Despite all of this though, I really don't care, because it's a Crash plush in another costume that's overall pretty great quality. I love the see-through plasticky visor and the oxygen tube connected to the tanks on his back. Great little details. And while we're on a different costumed Crash binge, who wants to see my absolute favourite plush that can never be topped no matter what anybody says? Okay, here we have a 2001 Cash Banuka biker plush, but instead of his leather jacket, they gave him a gimp suit. All that's missing for him is a load of red lights and a pole. I love this. He's literally glistening. I never thought I'd see Crash in skin-tight PVC before, but I'm glad I have now.
Okay, so we've made it through the first warp room and the first 1/7 of all the minigames, and it only took 19 minutes. Granted, if you remove all of the replays I had to do to win each of the games 3 times, then 12 minutes of that was just replaying the same things over and over again, but overall, this was pretty fun and welcoming. Like a nice grandma.
On to Warp Room 2, and we have Pong again. But it's different this time, I promise, because you have a magnet and it's all brown. After that is the polar bears again, but it's different this time, I promise, because the platform tilts. After that is the pogo sticks again, but it's different this time, I promise, because you don't have score boxes to bank your coloured tiles anymore, and you have to make a square instead. After that is the fighting arena again.
I'm sorry, this is already ridiculous. Not only are we replaying the same minigames from Warp Room 1, but with minimal changes, and winning them all another 3 times each, but these are all of the minigames available to you at the start of the game in multiplayer mode anyway, so if you and your friends played that mode first, got sick of all of these minigames, and then thought, hey, I'm going to do adventure mode to try unlocking the rest, and then got to this point of the adventure mode, this is where your fight or flight would kick in. And I know what mine is doing.
I mean, just look at this for the battle technique section of the manual. To get you on your way, here are the basic objectives and controls for the first few arenas. Yeah, I know what you're doing. How about we reword that? To get you on your way, here are the controls for basically the only games we have. Sorry. Luckily though, after our 20th replay of the same original 4 base minigames, we are finally treated to our first brand new game mode and 5th minigame type overall. Tank Wars. This is Desert Fox, a game of moving on a grid, changing your aim with the shoulder buttons, firing at each other, and using mines to cause damage across rows and columns. And yes, we have to win another 3 times again to get the trophy and unlock it for the multiplayer, but it's not all that bad. We only have another 11 minigames left to unlock. Sure, it took us just under 44 minutes and 15 seconds to reach this minigame and beat it to unlock it, but we are well on our way, I'm sure. On to the second warp room boss we go, and oh. Here's the deal, you don't only have to get trophies in order to unlock the rest of the adventure mode and therefore the rest of the games for multiplayer, because Cram Bam also has gems and crystals to get for each minigame on top of them. And this is where it all starts getting a little twatty, because you're not only replaying the same minigames again, but you're also replaying them with added impairments that do nothing to the minigames except debilitate you and no other players. For the gems, most of the time it's the exact same minigame again, but you have less time to win, or less health points, or more points than everybody else to subtract down to 0 to end the game, and that can come with its own problems. But then the crystals swing its massive wang around the corner and give you the same minigame once again, but this time with an added hazard or one new stipulation that deliberately handicaps you and nobody else. In fairness, these challenges only require you to finish them 1 time and then it's over, but either way, it's still asking you to replay the same minigame again, which is likely already a variation of the same game from earlier that you already beat 3 times to get the trophy in the first place, and it's 10 times harder.
But just humour me for a second and put all of that to one side. I'll go into more depth later so you can truly understand how much of a baffling problem this all is, but for now, Let's just keep looking at all of the base minigames up until the final boss, ignoring all of the unlock requirements.
Boss 2 is the Bearminator, a name in reference to the 1984 film The Terminator, which is named as such for it is about a villain that can terminate, so therefore the reference doesn't work since bearminating isn't a thing. The next minigame is more Pong, except this time you find force fields that push the balls away for a bit, and every so often Engine appears after drinking too much N-Gin and starts spitting everywhere randomly in order to be more relatable to the youth. Minigame 11 is Melt Panic, more polar bears, except now the stage shrinks gradually. After this is even more pogo sticks, with the only difference being Ripperoo leaving TNT boxes all over the place to stun you if you're anywhere near them, and after this is Snow Bash, which is even more box throwing fighting, but now on slippery ice and with a penguin that does a really good impression of Hurricane Katrina, except nobody died. What's that? Avoid waking the penguin? That's really good advice. Next minigame is another tank game, but this time the stage changes layout sometimes, making the row and column mines useless since you have no idea what the stage is going to do next, and I like that. It's my favorite part of the whole game. And then finally, at minigame 15, we have our 6th different type of original new minigame, Crash Dash, a Micro Machine styled race going around in a circle with a boost gauge and missile power-ups to stop everyone else from going around in a circle. This one isn't too bad, but the power-ups and other races are there to just distract you from remembering that all you're doing is going around in a circle. Then at the end of Warp Room 3 is a tank boss fight against the Komodo brothers in a more open arena and multiple phases of different guns to get through before finally taking them head on. It's the hardest boss so far, so much to the point that they give you a checkpoint after the gun fortress part of the fight. So does that mean the game will ease up on you from now on? Maybe. Off to Warp Room 4 and minigame 16. Pong again, but you're in the sky. Oh, it moved! Next minigame is Manic Panic. Polar bears. The next minigame is Something Padlock. Can you guess what kind of padlock it is? Yes, that's right. A shed. Minigame 19 is then another box fighting one with Drain Bash so that you can bash, crash, and crash bash for the PlayStation 1. After that is even more tank battles, but now with free moving analog controls in an open arena with a podium in the center. It's all the same shit, honestly, but now you have to be extra careful to watch out for the only known weakness of tanks. A wooden face. Then after this we have Toxic Dash, the exact same circle race as Dot Dash, but now with explosive barrels and a gooey man that gets in the way and then throws his kids at you. Oh my crump, it's minigame 22, and finally another new original minigame type. Ring ding ding ring rang dug dong. A game where you have to run around in a clock tower popping balloons of your own color while hitting black balloons and crates for different power-ups to help you further pop your own balloons. And then to cap the whole adventure off is the final boss fight against Nitrous Oxide, a two-phase fight where you start by following him awkwardly silently through space, then end with another game of Pong. Screw you.
Sphinxinator. What a boneheaded troll of a stage this is to Platinum. I mean, it starts with you needing to ignore the clock, head backwards, fire at the clock with your bazooka from a distance, and then hit the crates that were originally behind you because now they've become time stoppers. After that, it's just you and the whim of the stage, subjecting you to whatever it feels like at whatever time it feels like. Sure, there are some skill-based elements you can master to cut down the seconds, like Death Tornado spin gliding across these moving platforms to skip them, or working out how to get by this awkward stack of TNT crates sandwiched between time crates. Particularly annoying since you can't tank through here and need to save Aku Aku for the final invincibility stretch at the end of the level. But the rest of it, so Beck help me, where do I begin? Fast moving platforms that leave too big of a gap to skip quickly unless they're timed perfectly, closing doors that stay shut for ages unless you time your run through perfectly, flamethrower men whose left and right pattern changes by the millisecond depending on how well your run has gone up to that point, ice physics across oily floors that also have giant block traps falling from the ceiling. Most of the Platinum Relic here is just luck. So, good luck. Luckily, our next level doesn't rely on luck. Hot Cocoa is the most unique level in the entire series for one reason. It's non-linear. You have to search for a nitro detonator box hidden in the level in order to clear the row of nitro crates blocking the exit, and Aku Aku isn't a thing that can cheese it for you. So you need to find the best possible route of hitting enough time crates on your way to the detonator and on your way back to end the level. You can't hit too many on the way there, or you'll have none on the way back. There's like 70 boxes that you can choose from and multiple directions and angles angles you can take. There's a lot to consider when picking the most optimal route for you. I've been over this before, but it bears repeating and grinding into dust. The jet ski controls are the worst part of the Insane Trilogy as a whole, and where they far from affect my love for the game as it stands, when trying to get the Platinum Relic for Hot Cocoa, it's borderline unplayable. You skim and slide over the water with the most slippery controls imaginable and with a stupidly wide turning circle, so when your route involves being up close and personal with multiple mines or nitro crates, by the end of your run you would have learnt a brand new language full of naughty words and phlegm. The time limit is so tight too, so you end up experimenting with different routes, which means different timings of different moving mines and different angles across different ramps, and it's so easy to miss every box or to hit the ones you really didn't want to hit. The best time I could get legitimately was right here, only overtaken by the glitch run I did ages ago where you could do this. And trust me, after only a few tries of Hot Cocoa, you will be tempted to do this, but if you want to see the route that I figured out legit, try copying it for yourself, it's right here. Not that it will save you from the controls though, but it's something, right?
We are finally done with all of the portable console Crash games. Yep. None. I'm all done. There isn't a single one left. I'm all...
Oh yeah, you thought I forgot about this one, didn't you? Well, trust me, I wish I had, but alas, I remember. Bugger me in Baghdad, I remember. Now immediately the red flag should be waving in your face for two reasons. One, this is a party game that's a spiritual sequel to the already below mediocre Crash Bash. And two, this title screen is completely blank, while a skinny hunchbacked goblin is lolloping away from a purple sock with legs. Time to pick our main character for this whale of a party game then, and now I regret not killing myself when I was 5. Can somebody out there please tell me what these things are and why they were put into this game? This is 2006. How do fake Game Boy Advance 3D graphics from 2002 look better than this? Crash looks like if Jeff the Killer turned into a kite. Coco has trees for ears and her arms are the oars of a rowing boat. Coco's face too. My god, how much more of a minger could you look? Her face is so mangled it looks like a hedge maze.
I haven't been this disgusted since I last looked at my stepdaughters.
You know what? I'm gonna pick Pinstripe for now because he is the least awful looking one, and I'm gonna call him Mumps. And if you chose the single player mode, you won't be happy with the story either. We've got this new character that has never appeared in any Crash media before or since this game, and he's called... You know what? He's never mentioned by name in this entire opening. A brand new character for Crash, a brand new game, and we don't even know who he is. He has been trying to find a thing for a long time, but can't find a thing. So he created a tournament full of battles in order to trick the participants into finding the thing he's looking for. In the most basic terms, Crash Boom Bang Bing Bong Boo Bingly Bungly Boo is a Mario Party ripoff, but just worse. You roll a dice, move along a board, deal with whatever space you land on, fight in minigames, collect points from minigames, use them on the game board to help you win, pick up items to help you or disrupt other players. It ticks all the boxes, including that single one that you missed because you're a stupid twat. So off the bat, it does sound a bit more interesting than Crash 'em Bash 'em, but it's how the game decides to try being different from Mario Party when it all goes arse over tea kettle. First of all, you all roll the dice and move at the same time, meaning you can never strategize what items to use now or save for later because you never know where characters are going to be, or what space they're going to land on, or what items they're going to use at the same time as you. Oh, and you want to talk about the mini games? Are they fun? Sure, let's go over them. Why not? There's a game where you play Spot the Difference. There's a game where you guess what number a baseball will be thrown at. There's a game where you guess where a person will appear from the floor and hope you can slowly walk over to them before the computer players, which is never. There's a game where you blow. Just blow. And I got that one 3 times on the same match.
Oh, and if you lose some of the mini games, you can get knocked out, but then you have to sit there and watch everybody else finish it without you. And no, you can't skip it. I tried. This is more exciting than the NBA.
And it's a shame that it isn't the 1920s, because Mumps isn't doing so well here. You wanna know my favourite part of this game though? There isn't even an option from the start to play any of the mini-games separately from the rest of it.
I can confidently say, out of every Crash game I've ever played in my life, this is the worst one. Easily.
Yeah, believe it or not, I couldn't find anyone online talking about these illegal rip-off games on smartphone stores, so allow me to pop the lesion. Let's start off with this gem, Crash Fox Skate Runner, developed by...
Crash Bandicoot himself. You can enjoy this Crash Fox skating games and cube block games by simply controlling your players, that is, stand upon rolling cylinders in Sky Roller games. Do you need help? App privacy. The developer... Crash Bandicoot! I can't wait any longer. Let's play. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Crash Fox Skate Runner is a game where you swipe left and right to steer the classic PS1 mascot Crash Fox while he walks on top of Pringles, you know, as he's known to do. If you don't collect enough yellow to get over the gaps, you fall and die, which happens extremely frequently because there simply isn't enough yellow to drive into. There's nothing else to say other than it's perfectly. And then you get rewarded with an ad for Train Station 2, sequel to the critically acclaimed best game ever, Train Station 1. Well, that was disgusting. What have we got next? Here it is. It's Crazy Fox Adventure in Time. It doesn't look like Crash at all, but this is what came up when I searched for him on the App Store, so I'll have to take their word for it. Crazy Fox Adventure in Time is a 2,5D platformer inspired by classic PSX games. It features low-poly graphics, 2 different ways of character steering, time of the day, and I guess the guy who wrote this got interrupted and killed by rabbits, with this being his final call for help. The game has 1 rating, and it's 1 out of 5. Excellent, let's give it a look then. Hey there, lady, can I have your number? So I can ring you and tell you how vile you are? Right, so we need to get things crystal clear. This is not inspired by classic PSX games. This is a classic PSX game. It's called Crash Bandicoot. Ever heard of it? It's a great game. It has a warp room with level pads to stand on, wooden boxes with symbols on them, crystals to collect, red TNT crates, green nitro crates, spinning, crouching and slide jumping, and not being able to jump on top of enemies without dying. So yeah, take Crash Bandicoot side-scrolling levels and just make it not as good. That's what Crazy Fox Adventure in Time is. It's not awful at all. It works, but it just makes you wish you were playing an actual Crash game instead, which is as close to a compliment as I can get. Why does Crash Bandicoot keep wanting me to play Train Station 2? Oh, it even has this vehicle segment where you're on rollerblades and can't stop moving, but it controls like arse, it's totally impossible, it isn't interesting, and it's as fun to deal with as Taco Bell Bumwee.
Not sure if you noticed or not, but Crash 4 is huge. And I haven't even mentioned all of it yet.
Not only do you have 38 levels to get through with all of the characters, 5 bosses, and the 21 flashback tapes to complete, but you even have the time trial relics from Crash 3 making a triumphant return for all of those 38 levels. And once you beat Embryo in Boss 2, you then unlock what the game likes to call N-verted mode, where every single level, including bosses, is flipped horizontally and given a brand new art style that changes for every single world. Okay, so, in order for you to complete Cash Banuka 4, one of the things you have to do is go for the gems in every level. Going for gems is the bread and butter of nearly every platforming Crash game ever since Crash 2 hit the shelves, and they're where you're going to get the most enjoyment and challenge in most of the games if you ask me. You see, Crash has had a bit of an issue ever since the second game when it comes to difficulty and length. The games are usually way too easy and way too short if you're just going from the start to the end without going for any optional things. But if you choose to go the extra mile for 100% in the older games, you didn't only get a smattering of extra hidden stages, but also got yourself an extremely cool hidden ending that was the true conclusion to the game. The highest rated Crash games that everyone loves work in this exact way. Yes, even that one which no one likes. It's challenging in places, but completely doable with patience. It's not too long and arduous, and feels satisfying to complete because the extra challenge and the optional parts are a nice change of pace to test your reflexes. So check this out. There are 6 gems in every stage. 6 gems to get in all 38 stages, totaling up to 228. You get 3 gems for finding 80% of all the Wumpa Fruit in the stage, 1 gem for breaking all the boxes, 1 gem for dying 3 times or less, and 1 gem for just finding it, but it's extremely well hidden. Personally, I'm fine with this setup because most of these gems add a little bit of depth for a new mainline Crash game set 22 years after the last one, and I particularly enjoyed the hidden gem inclusion because of how creative and devious they could be placed, and it taught me to explore the stages in newer ways I never thought would be possible in a Crash game. It felt very good to get all of them, and finding them off screen by using the camera function was a great time sink. Most of them have good hints and clues without being outright obvious too, so I'd love to see these come back in a future game. And then there's the Wumpa Fruit gems, which I also really liked, since they add more value to the Wumpa Fruit aside from just being fodder for extra lives. To be honest, if you're playing in modern mode, you don't have extra lives anyway, so it's good that the Wumpa Fruit are good for something. And the extra details of not being able to spin Wumpa Fruit away, or have all of the crate Wumpa Fruit automatically fly to your inventory after you spin spin or bounce on them made these gems much easier and way more satisfying to get. The gems you collect also give you some nifty stuff to unlock, including a secret ending that I'm sure every Crash fan will get a kick out of, and with my favourite inclusion, they even net you some new costumes for Crash and Coco depending on which of the level's gems you obtain. My favourite skins of which being Willy the Wombat, because holy shit, this is potentially what Crash could have been from the very beginning if Naughty Dog didn't can the idea. And then there's Fake Engine, Crash 3's biker jacket, Artist Coco, retro skin. Oh, and special shout out to the balloon costume as well, not only because it looks hilarious and is named after a bad toilet trip, but also because if you get killed by spikes, you get a unique death animation. But in my personal opinion, all of this is not worth the aggravation some of these box gems will give you. I mean, the very first level of the game throws 104 boxes on you, which is crazy for a first level in a Crash game. And this wouldn't be so bad to have hundreds on top of hundreds of boxes to break, but it becomes infuriating when they also love to hide them, sometimes even hide them in harder hiding places than most of the hidden gems that are supposed to be hidden. And they are also hidden inside stages that are absolutely gigantic. Do you have any idea how much your heart sinks to get through a massive level and break hundreds of boxes only to find out you missed a single box? That was bad enough in the original games, but at least the levels weren't that long to retry and the boxes usually not that hidden. But here, it's basically that single impossible hidden box from Cold Hard Crash, but with multiple boxes in every level that can sometimes last you up to 15 minutes on each try, many of which are absolutely impossible to see. Yeah, sure, most of the off-screen boxes you can just assume are hidden on top of stacks of other boxes, so make sure you bounce on top of them whenever the hell you possibly can. The third level of this game is called A Real Grind, because they know exactly what they did here. You even get a new skin for beating the final boss, which is just the Bandicoots in a body cast. Like, they know exactly what's going on here. Whether you like it or not, you will have to pay attention to every minuscule crevice of the level design here. I mean, the game does look spectacular, so a part of me thinks they wanted you to spend as much time as possible looking at everything they included. But still, it just gets outright unfair in multiple places, like in the level Off Balance, where after multiple replays, I just kept missing 2 crates and could not find them for the life of me. And then after I looked it up, I discovered they are in some of the dumbest locations I've ever seen for any item in any game I've ever played. Can you even see it now that it's on screen? Like, one of these boxes is invisible enough already, but even after you jump towards it, it still blends into the background. I tried to play the entire game without looking anything up. I really did, but this was one of the times I gave up and had to. I mean, how are you supposed to figure that out? The same applies to the hidden gems, where I managed to find 36 of them entirely by myself, which I am proud of, but then I absolutely couldn't find the one on shipping error because that defies all common sense and doesn't give you a single hint about it, and Run It By You, which doesn't only hide a switch crate there of all places, but then expects you to go back and then figure out the new crates to stand on are over here. I mean, I thought if I found that switch crate, I would have activated some invisible crates later on in the level. And this is without me mentioning how hard it is to hit some of the newer boxes that they included in this game as well, such as the timed invisible crates where you have to hit a red switch in order to make them appear very briefly, and if you're not quick enough they disappear until you hit the red switch crate again, or the flaming crates, which will damage you if you come anywhere near them while they're on their timed looping flame animation. And when you mix these over bottomless pits, meaning that you have one chance to hit all of them or else fall to the ground and die, it all gets pretty ridiculous very quickly. Now, I know I showed off the First for Figures Crash statue earlier on in this video, mostly because they are the cream of the crop when it comes to video game-based statues. I mean, Christ, look at these. I wish I had all of them. But that doesn't mean there aren't other statuettes and other high-detailed display figures that you can get.
Like these ones here. Currently, at least, this is the complete set of Crash vinyl figures from U2s, featuring 4 from It's About Time and 2 random one-offs like this adorable Ripperoo. And while we're talking about vinyl figures, there's always Funko Pops. Believe it or not, I used to have the entire set of Crash Bandicoot Funkos. I've earned the right to burn them. I have no spine. I didn't burn all of them though. I got rid of them ages ago, either to charity shops or to my kids all around the house. But rest assured, you can get these if you really, really want to. But if you really want to get them, then I really want to not talk to you. In Funko's defense though, they are capable of making some good shit, especially when they aren't busy trying to replace everybody's eyes with black swollen lymph nodes. They released 6 of these mini vinyl Crash Team Racing figures in 2019, 2018, and they are some of my favorite Crash-related things that I own. You'd never guess that these were from the Pop Vinyl people. They have so much detail and personality. The characters have their own carts. All of their wheels are bent slightly differently. They aren't copy-pastes of the same plastic mold. Oxide even has his own hovercraft. How great is that? And then you have this pretty well-crafted and not too expensive Crash 4 statue from Numskull. Oh yes, first time I get to mention these guys. If you have ever owned anything remotely unique or quirky related to video games before, chances are Numskull were the ones who made it. That Christmas jumper, those Crash Team Racing coasters, the glasses, the weirdly shaped mugs, the bottle opener, even the incense burner. All of these are Numskull products. And this is another pretty cool one. Look, Crash is Gen Z. What kind of photos is he taking? This is what he sees. This is a Crash 4 Coco Bandicoot statue from Cable Guys, who specialize in making statues with a purpose. That purpose being putting a controller or phone on it. That's fun, isn't it? And the box even has instructions for you in case you don't get it. There's the statue, and then you aim your object in a downwards motion towards the statue's arms with the aid of gravity to place it, and then you win. Thank you, round, bold child. I'm happy that you told me not to put my controller on your head.
Now the thing is, I think this is pretty sweet for what it is, but I wanted to see what other ones I could get, so I went back online and found myself a Crash one.
Oh yeah, is holding a phone or a controller not exciting enough for you? Well, how about a Cable Guy statue that can hold a Steam Deck? This is absurd, but also the most badass thing I've ever seen. Look at this beefcake propping it up.
What elbows? What knees?
And my favorite thing about these things is that in order for the stands themselves to actually function, they had to do something to their arms. They're looking a bit long today, and I'm not sure those bends are normal, but you know, if that's what needs to be done for Cash Banuka to pick up a Nintendo Switch, I'm all for it. You can make their arms look like a gangly spider, I don't mind.
During the making of this video, I was also thinking whether or not I should bother including the Skylanders figures as merchandise, considering that they're an accessory that's needed to play a game. But then I thought, yeah, why not? I mean, they're kind of like amiibos, aren't they? They're multi-purpose. You can use them in the games if you want, or you can display them, or you could fight with them. It's merchandise that also has a practical use.
These things are called tubs, and they are ducks. What do you want me to say? Do you want Crash Bandicoot as a duck? Do you want Cortex as a duck? Do you want Coco as a duck? Do you want Engine with a missile in his head as a duck? Do you want me as a duck? And you know the best thing about these rubber duck bath toys that were invented specifically to play with in the bath? They aren't bath toys. Why not? What's the point of them being rubber ducks if you can't use them as rubber ducks? What numbskulls came up with this idea? There's only 4 of these so far, and they each come in their own biodome, sitting in a mini bathtub of their own, which is kind of cute, I guess, but hang on a second. What's that mark there? Is that on the inside? Is that from his nose? Are they trying to break out? Am I safe? This. Look, it's our best friends at Funko again. What is this? They make soda now? Well, okay, I'm not against that idea. If you can name a cereal Graham, then you can name a soda after Funko Pops, I suppose. So let's open it up and dig in. Oh. But that's not a drink. Well, this was secondhand. I suppose there wouldn't be any drink left, would there?
Okay, great. We rolled the credits, we finished the adventure mode, and after you beat the final boss, the rest of the multiplayer games all unlock for you on the main menu. Which makes sense when I say that, doesn't it?
And I know it feels like I condensed a lot of that journey, but trust me, it took a while. In fact, going back to Gems and Crystals, in order to fight the final boss and finish the game, you need all previous 22 trophies on top of 15 gems and 12 crystals. And assuming you don't quit any of the minigames once you start, that means you'll be seeing 2 loading screens for each of those required collectibles and bosses, one for loading in and one for loading out. The shortest loading screens for me lasted around 6 seconds, while the longest lasted around 15, leaving us with an average of 10.5 seconds per loading screen. 22 trophies, 15 gems, 12 crystals, and 4 bosses is 53 total level entries. Times that by 2 for each loading screen you'll see per level leaves us with 106 loading screens, and timing that by 10.5 seconds leaves us with 18 minutes and 33 seconds total of you just listening to waiting for the games and bosses to begin and end.
Now, I decided to go for all 22 trophies, gems, and crystals before the final boss, which is admittedly my own fault. So because of that, I'm gonna go easy on Crash Bash, and I'm going to be charitable. I love being charitable. Charity's great. Starving kids? Love them. Thumbs up. So just for the sake of fairness, if I took all of the footage I recorded for this game and arranged all of the gem and crystal challenges in order from shortest to longest, then at an absolute minimum, 22 trophies, 15 gems, 12 crystals, and 4 bosses in total took me 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 11 seconds to do, which in and of itself is not a big problem. It's pretty short for an adventure mode. But when you consider the pogo game for a second and assume that you get the trophy, gem, and crystal in all 4 variations of that same base minigame like I did, then that means out of the 5 hours, 35 minutes, and 21 seconds it took for me to get all 22 of everything and 4 bosses, 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 5 seconds of that playtime was spent playing the same base pogo minigame, which should help you come to understand just how unnecessarily dumb and repetitive that is for the sake of unlocking all the other minigames in a minigame collection party game where all the minigames should already be unlocked for you to play in multiplayer at the start. Oh, sorry. I was just looking down at all of the comments telling me that I'm wrong. But I'm not wrong. I lied.
No, this is not all you have to do to unlock every minigame, because that would be a really shit video. Instead, after the final boss, you unlock another warp room with the final remaining 6 minigames that you need to get the trophies in to unlock for the multiplayer in this multiplayer party game. Strangely though, these remaining minigames, even though they are at the very end, offer the most amount of variety and least repeating ideas in any of the warp rooms too. Yes, level 23 is another circle race, but underwater on an oxygen-breathing poser fish. Level 26 is more tanks, but on the water. And level 28 is yet another circle race, but fire. However, you also get level 24, drag and drop, a frantic rush around of 4 players trying to grab one of 2 gems and then throw them at a moving target while standing in a specific scoring zone. And eventually a 3rd gem appears, but by that point, I mean, who cares? Level 25, mallet mash, where you walk around stunning opponents, smashing mushrooms, and getting more points by hitting them just before they explode. And level 27, keg kaboom, which even though new, is sadly one of the worst minigames since it's just a walking simulator. And I don't mean one of those games where you just walk around and sad men read letters to you in a smelly cave. I mean, it's literally a walking simulator. Walking the video game. Walk around with fire following you and hope that barrels appear to give you points. So yes, sadly there is incentive to get this far in the adventure mode because out of the 10 total minigame styles, 3 of them are unlocked in the final warp room. But it's fine, surely, because as I mentioned earlier, I was collecting all the gems and crystals in every stage as I was going along to prepare myself for the final unlocks. So now I have all 22 of everything, and nothing should be unavailable to me. Yes, trophies, gems, and crystals are not the only things you need to get to unlock all of the levels for multiplayer. You also need to get gold relics. And how do you get them? Oh, you know, by playing the same games you just played all over again, but winning them another 2 times. Next up, we've got Zombies Run. Crash Bandicoot. Drive ahead through the zombie highway in a race to save your family. Arm yourself with an arsenal of powerful weapons, and is this a joke? Are you okay? Are you having a fever? Is your house on fire? I'm not so sure about this, but let's give it a look anyway. Allow Zombies Run to track your activity across other companies' apps and websites. Right then, here we go. Zombies Roadkill. Oh, it changed its own name. That's good. I understand it. Level 1. Damn, guys, I feel just like a kid again. Playing Crash Bandicoot on my PlayStation. Look, it's got the taxis and the school bus and the machine gun. By the way, the truck here is impossible to steer. Look at this. Oh, come on now. I've been playing for all of 90 seconds and you want me to rate the game? Fine. If you're asking for it, you're getting it. 1 star. Write a review. Title. Cortex is too hard. This game is so hard that it made me scratch my scalp off my pretty head. Time to send and... Enter a nickname. Okay. Halal Meat. This nickname is taken. Enter another and try again. Who called themselves Halal Meat? Okay, fine. Halal Meat 5000. Done. Thanks for your feedback. You're not welcome. Well, hey, if I can give this game at least 1 point of praise, Zombies Run is free to play.
And, believe it or not,
Can't believe I'm saying this again. Those are the only Crash bootlegs that I could find on the iPhone App Store.
Crash on the Run.
Released in 2021 for current-gen iPhone and Android devices, developed by the same people behind Candy Crush. My favourite. Yep, I didn't see that one coming either, but in all fairness, the idea of a non-stop running Crash game where you swipe left, right, up and down to avoid obstacles is one that does make perfect sense. When you consider all the boulder chasing levels from the past and the fact that Crash is mostly a linear 3D corridor platformer to begin with, there's nothing wrong with the concept. I mean, even Sonic Dash was a fun time a few years back, and it's yet another Crash game you can play on the toilet. What's not to love? Adding to that, on my iPhone XS Max, the game looks really nice for an iPhone app and runs at a consistent 60 frames per second, even though I tend to get stuck in the floor quite a lot. Crash Bandicoot on the Run is a very simple game. In the single player, you pick one obstacle course level at a time within many different worlds, which always end with you defeating the henchman of the boss of the world that you're in. Beat all of the henchmen and you unlock the boss fight, which is more of the same, except you need to tap the screen to fire projectile items at the correct moment while avoiding more obstacles. After that, you unlock more replayable aspects of the game, like gem challenges where you have to collect all Wumpa Fruit in a stage or defeat all the enemies, and the time trial relics where you need to break second stopping crate and get to the end of the stage with the fastest possible route. All of this together unlocks more levels and contributes to completion. It's the basic shindig.
So it sounds like a done deal, right? A decent Crash game that plays well, controls well, and follows the formula well. But there's one massive thing I've neglected to mention.
I mean, you need special collectible tools, and you get these tools by finding ingredients in the endless running collection levels, and then putting the correct ingredients into a machine. And then those tools sometimes need to be added back into the machine with other tools to get different tools, which then sometimes need to be done multiple times over in order to access a single level. To give you an idea how long this may take, well, there's only a certain limited amount of ingredients in every single collection run, and only a certain type of ingredient that exists in all the levels that you have available. And after you do that collection run, there's a cooldown in order for you to do that collection run again. Then there's the cooldown of you adding the ingredients into the machines to create a tool. And for each element version of each tool, you only have 3 slots to create those after upgrading them. So even if you have the right amount of ingredients, you are most likely going to be stuck waiting for one lot of tools to be made before making more. You can also do special challenge runs for each level of each world where you need to hit every crate in order to get more ingredients, but not only does that mean you having to play the challenge perfectly in one go on every attempt, but also means that you have to wait 24 hours in order to do the challenge again once you beat it, and that's only for one kind of ingredient. Add this on top of all the other tools you need to create with other lesser tools that also need creating. You have to repeat so many runs of exactly the same stages over and over again just to farm the items you need to unlock one single player level on top of the wait time. And I have no idea if this was included only recently, but I did notice that the collection runs were made literally 3 times faster than they ever were when I originally started playing, so they clearly knew this was a drag. But that doesn't fix the issue with repetition, and you will very quickly notice the lack of power-ups, enemy types, and obstacles throughout the entire game.
You know what that means? You either end up in a miserable grind where you check your phone every few minutes, every hour of every day in order to keep on top of your ingredient farming, or you give them all your money.
I am fully aware that this is a free-to-play game, so in many ways, it's pointless complaining about a gameplay system where you get more out of it by shelling out a few quid. But I do think Cash Banuka Has the Ruds goes way too overboard with how little you can physically progress without spending money. I put a decent amount of hours into the game when it first launched, and I got pretty far after a few hours, but even after all of those combined hours, I still don't even have half the levels completed that I need to get to World 3. You can either use money to buy ingredients immediately, or use them to buy crystals, and those are the things that I use to speed up all of those horrific cooldown timers. And yes, there's always the multiplayer angle if you've got the tickets to play in the first place, where you make up your own team and then head to the races with ghost characters in an endless running mode in order to beat their furthest distances, but that's only a tiny portion of the game, and it doesn't really help you along the campaign that much. It is pretty fun to get trophies, which then get collected by all of your team members onto a leaderboard so that you can win prizes for a season, but that's hardly worth investing into the tickets to begin with. But hey, just in case any of you were wondering and wanted to join in, I'm the head of the Woolly Wumpas, and the best run I was able to do in the multiplayer lasted me just over 16 minutes, because you end up going this fast after that much time. I have to stress though, this game is indeed free, so you aren't harming yourself by downloading it, but if you ask me, there's 1,000 other free-to-play games I'd recommend over this purely because because of how tectonically slow this one is without dropping any money towards it. I have got way more mileage from many other free games and still feel satisfied without dropping a cent towards them. Yeah, I've been inconvenienced in a few places, but the core game is still great and you can still do a lot. This though, this is more than an inconvenience. Without money, it's boring, and I don't want to play it anymore.
My advice is to treat Crash on the Run like fast food. It's really lovely in small doses, but if you have too much of it, you'll get gout. And then you need to cut it off for your own health. Now! What about the other Crash iOS games that released on the App Store?
Yep, believe it or not, this is not the only one. In fact, there were two before it. Crash Nitro Kart 3D from 2009 and Crash Nitro Kart 2 from 2010. But unfortunately, there are absolutely zero ways to play them anymore unless you already have them on an iPhone with those games pre-installed. They were taken off of Apple stores years ago and can't even be emulated, which is a huge slap in the nuts.
And with that, yeah, I think we're done. Finally, we have covered every single Crash Bandicoot portable game ever made.
This here is the Nokia N-Gage. Yep, I know. It's a video game console cross-cell phone that came out in 2003, and it's gloriously shit. It's a taco. It's the end of a spade. It's a weighing scale for a tiny little man. Do you remember all of those images going around the internet years and years ago? Yeah, people weren't doing that to be funny. That is exactly how you had to hold this thing when making calls, because the microphone is down here and the earpiece is up here. Come on!
I can hear the sea.
Seriously? I love this thing. I think it's an extremely cool time capsule for the early 2000s, but I'm not here to tell you why this thing failed as a phone and a game system. Crash Nitro Kart, with online features that don't work anymore. Yeah, this thing really did try marketing itself as a games console. They had games that came in boxes, with cartridges no less. And in order for you to swap these cartridges out, you had to take the entire back of the phone off and remove the battery. Mix that all together with phone dialing keys for buttons and an upright rectangular screen that doesn't show you anything around the left and the right of you, and most of the games that released for this thing were virtually unplayable. Impressive, for sure, but terrible. As you can see, my copy of Nitro Kart on the N-Gage is still sealed and brand new off of the shelf from 17 years ago. Now, surprisingly, this isn't actually based on any other version of Nitro Kart. No, not even the GBA version. And yet, somehow, it isn't gruesome. In fact, I'd say it looks even better than the GBA version. Yeah, imagine that. A 2003 Nokia phone looks better than a Nintendo console, but shit, man, this doesn't look too bad. And the tracks aren't flat either. There's more bends, hills, ramps, everything. Consider me impressed. And then you remember you're playing on phone dialing buttons, and you can only see what's directly in front of you. And the buttons are massive and really far apart like the goddamn in television. And the joypad is horribly stiff. And then you realise you spent a lot of money on these things. And you do a big messy.
Oh, and I didn't even tell you the worst part of all of this.
The inverted stages, and you can argue that these are one of the best bits of the game, but I couldn't disagree more. Yes, sure, there's a few art styles in the inverted worlds that I thought were a visual treat and were extremely creative and cool to experience, especially when they do something a little extra to your gameplay, like in the Fiesta stages when you're also sped up considerably while playing in a silent film olden-timey style with bouncy old piano versions of the original music from the stages. And once you realise that you are essentially playing the exact same game, getting 228 gems all over again, with 6 new gems per stage. No, I don't think that flipping the level horizontally and putting an ugly filter over the game counts as new content, even if they hide the hidden gem in a brand new, even trickier location. And some of these filters I outright just did not like, and it made repeating the same levels again even more frustrating as well as repetitive. The comic book pop art of the snow world honestly gave me eye ache after a while. The pixelation in Cortex's castle was just plain irritating. The scratchy pencil look of the prehistoric world made every collectible blend into the background, making me miss boxes more often, meaning even more replays of the same stage I already completed regularly. And the water effect in the food dimension was the absolute worst, since you don't only get a constantly distorted and sickening warping screen, but you also have to trudge through water physics. Getting every optional collectible in the other Crash platformers for new levels and a new ending is an important part of the experience, because like I said earlier, going the extra distance was never that ridiculous of an ask in terms of difficulty and the time it takes. In fact, I think it makes the adventure more worth it, because going from the beginning to the end is just not enough. But the fact is, even if you were an absolute pro at Crash 4 and could get every single gem all in your first attempt of every stage, for no Oh, and while we're talking about artificial length, another bit of the game I outright didn't enjoy at all were the alternate character scenarios for certain stages. You see, as Crash or Coco, in a handful of stages, something off-screen and unexplained will happen. You'll be confused, but then you won't be confused because it just so happens that either Torna, Cortex, or Dingodile are the reason why something else happened in that Crash or Coco stage. This means you then get a different level unlocked for the new character that shows you what happens before that part of the Crash level from the other new character's perspective. Sounds great, right? After you finish off the new character's perspective section, you then have to finish off the rest of the level as Crash or Coco after the moment they got confused in the original stage that you just did. This means that you may have spent multiple attempts trying to get every gem on that dedicated level as Crash or Coco 5 minutes ago, but then find yourself doing 1/2 or maybe even 2/3 of the same stage all over again after only a few minutes of playing as one of the new characters. Yes, I'm not even joking. In many of these stages, I'm convinced you play as Crash and Coco more than the new character the stage is built for, which would be fine for me, except you're just retreading exactly the same level you just did all over again. The level design is identical. The way you approach the level and search around it for boxes and gems is identical. And I can hear the counters to this being, oh well, what about all the secret levels in Crash 2 and 3, which take you back to an older level but from a completely different area, and you have to break all the boxes in there and then get back to the original level and break all the boxes in that all over again when you already went through it all earlier to get the crystal. And yes, you're right about that, but all of the new gems and everything else you get are tallied on top of the rest of the stuff you collected in that level already. Whereas Crash 4 treats these alternate character routes going into the same level you just did as a brand new and entirely separate level with its own 6 gems to get. It's redundant to the core and makes traveling some of the levels exhausting due to how many times you'll replay them. I really don't know why they either couldn't use the new character perspective levels as a separate part of the original level that branches off and returns, or if it had been a separate level, at least stop once the new character stage had concluded. It's already a fun bonus getting to play as these new characters, so I wouldn't have cared at all if some of their levels wouldn't have been as long as some of the other ones. But by adding the need to carry on the rest of the level, it completely ruined the novelty for me and made me feel like I was just playing more pointless padding for the sake of getting even more gems when there are already hundreds. Oh, and by the way, the alternate new character stages for those same levels also have an inverted version of it, including the inverted version of the Crash and Coco finishing segments. So then, even if, hypothetically, you were an absolute pro that knew where everything was hidden and didn't die once, at the very minimum, some of these level designs you would have to play at least 5 separate times to get everything. And that's, again, if you were an absolute pro, knew where everything was, and didn't make a single mistake.
Honestly, there's only one single Funko Pop related thing that I am keeping, and it is this tiny tiger figure gifted to me by a very generous fan of my channel a few years ago, solely because it was signed by Brendan O'Brien, the original first voice actor for Crash, Brio, Engine, Komodo Mo, Tiny Tiger, Pinstripe, Cortex in Crash 1, most of the PS1 cast honestly. Sadly, however, during the making of this video, he tragically passed away at 60 years old. Mr. O'Brien, from the classic Crash villain monologues to the original undisputed whoa. Thank you for what you gave to the series, and I hope you rest in peace. I will treasure this.
Never thought I would ever treasure a Funko Pop, but, you know, life is strange. And honestly, I don't know how to transition from that without it sounding too abrupt, so... Do you want a Crash Bandicoot light-up USB cable?
This is probably the most unnecessary thing I've ever seen. It's a micro USB cable, but lights up, with Aku Aku on it. I don't get it. It also comes with some thumb grips to help you grab the cable, but sadly they are not very effective. They're too wide. Who the hell made this stupid thing? Oh, well. I can't read. Well, hey, at least you can mix and match the cable with the cable guys to charge whatever it is Crash is holding. So you have these mugs here shaped like Crash boxes and are a total pain in the dick to drink anything out of without getting it all down your chin. But at least that's better than being a total pain in the chin to drink anything out of without getting it all down your dick. These are the most impractical cups ever created. You had one job, cup. What are you supposed to do with these? Hook your lip over the ridge of the circle and lap it up like a dog? Surely we can get a cup that actually works as a cup. It's round. It's pourable. You were so close. Look, I get it. You want to make a ha-ha wacky mug, but out of every possible shape or Crash reference you could use as a handle, you pick the thing that turns your fingers into a garden rake. You nearly had it, guys. I'm so disappointed. I've been disappointed by a cup. But just when you thought it was impossible to make an implement for pouring liquid into your mouth, here comes this. A mug. But not just a mug, a magic mug. Well, from what we've seen so far, magic could mean that it's just a completely normal mug, but let's put some boiling water in it and see what happens. Oh my god. My mug is ill. Right, so we may be back on the completely impractical train heading straight for unusable station, but for this one example from Numskull, I don't actually care because it's bloody wonderful. It's a two-parter, a mug and a Crash Team Racing trophy. I mean, I would never actually want to put any boiling water in here, it's too shiny, but either way, how awesome is this? It's the perfect place to keep your Crash nanoblocks in. Oh shit!
And now we have another problem. I can't drink plastic. And also, I now have more mugs than coasters, so what do I do now?
Why, get a load of lenticular 3D drink coasters, of course. These are pretty neat, not much else to say about them. They're drink coasters, and I know it looks like it, but trust me, they aren't actually deep. They're flat. It's just a clever trick.
And while we're talking about 3D lenticular stuff, have you guys ever seen these collectible trading cards before?
Now these are pretty special. These were made in 2000 and were free gifts in old promotional packs of Italian snacks from a company called Mr. Day. Good day, Mr. Day. How does it feel to look like a hotel bed stain? All I could gather from the promo is that you could find these cards inside specially marked packets of muffins, and there were tons of them. I only managed to find 6 myself, but I'm happy with this, especially since loads of these tiny little things on eBay can go for like $80 each, so I'm good with what I've got. Tell me, Mr. Day, is your first name Wenz? So now we're out of Pasta Land and back in... I honestly don't know. Are these American or English? I have no idea. It's like Christian Bale. These are apparently stickers that came from vending machines. Whatever that means, and they are probably even more rare than the 3D cards from Mr. Splooge, especially if you manage to find them unused and still sticky. I can't imagine they'd be too nice if they came with 25-year-old hair. What I find really cool about them is that they're all cut in different individual ways in a very primary school noteboard kind of way, and I know I should probably use them as stickers, but to be honest, I don't want to. They were too much munty, so I'm just gonna hang on to them safely and look at them, like most of the other stuff I bought. Why do I do this? And why did I buy this, pray tell? The absolute weirdest object I've ever laid eyes on and the single most expensive sticker I've ever bought too. All the way from the land of cherry blossoms and Pepsi Man, here is a 2002 Crash Bandicoot Game Boy Advance control sheet sticker. Look, I get the idea, I admire the attempt, well done Japan, but if you were going to cover your Game Boy Advance in these stickers to help you remember how to play a side-scroller that uses 4 buttons, what about all the other games you have on your Game Boy? Once you've stuck these down, you can't unstick them and swap them for another game's controls. What happens if you want to bring them back? You can't. They're stickers. You stick them on once, take them off, and then they all magically grow hair and never stick again. That's just how it works. At least the stickers look pretty cool, and I always love how the Japanese render their Western platforming characters. They all look completely ridiculous. And luckily, I found some figures here from Tataku, which, despite the Coco and Cortex ones being exclusive to GameStop in the US, still didn't cost me that much, including import fees. I don't know why. I think they're pretty cool little things. They're like amiibo that are broken and have no use. You would even think that this extra special limited edition golden Crash figure would have been at least a little bit more, because, you know, it's gold. But the funny thing is, my Coco figure costed more than that. Yeah, a lesson there for you, Funko and Headstar. Just because you spray a plastic mold gold and call it limited edition doesn't make it automatically worth anything.
Right then, what are we looking at next? I'll tell you. Free kids meal toys from Hardee's and Carl's Jr. How lucky am I? They managed to pack the entire Crash kids meal set in here. Because look, this is one in a bag for Hardee's, and it's got 3 Crash things on it: a pullback, and a bend back. We've got a pullback, and it's Crash riding his little jet boardy thing. You pull it back and he falls over. Oh wait, Crash Apart Crash. It's supposed to have a box he can break. Hardee's, you forgot to pack the breakable Crash Bandicoot breakable box toy. Then we have this thing here. We got a little bendable Crash. And do you know what? I thought it was going to be a piece of crap, but it's actually all right. He does bend pretty much in every direction that you want. I don't know why he looks like the color of Lucasade, but yeah, he's good. So now we get to open this, and because this is still in the bag, that means it has not been used once. And here he is. It's a Crash riding a big metal egg, and he has some very wide feet. This front on profile is really awful. I hate it. And this pointing at you while he looks at you like that is like he's trying to enter something in you. You know something, I usually love destroying priceless gaming artifacts, but I haven't felt with this video inclined to do that because this stuff was just so expensive. So right now I am yearning to smash something.
You know what? This is an idea I can get behind. sort of. I've never been a fan of this borderline gambling where kids spend their whole month's pocket money for a chance to get a new figurine that they don't already have. But at least in this case, the figures are pretty sweet, you have a built-in display system after you get the figure out, and it's true to what Crash is best known for, breaking boxes. It's a clever real-life crossover, not bad head start. Now all I'm confused about is why your thing that's supposed to be broken was packaged like a bomb shelter, and yet your delicate action figures were broken before I even touched them. Not only that, but you have to win them against the hardest AI opponents in the whole game, the ones they call the Arena Champions, who are tuned to a nanoseconds worth of coded perfection, with their main and only objective being to maim you. This isn't an exaggeration either. The gem and crystal handicaps are one thing, but the relic challenges are probably the closest evidence we have to there being a higher power that doesn't love you. In every single minigame, they are not only close to unbeatable and know exactly what directions you're going to move, what action you'll perform, how to drive perfectly, and how to aim perfectly, but they also cheat. And I am not making that up.
In the crate and tank levels, the stats on damage given and taken is altered between levels and challenges. Runner Pole made a spreadsheet compiling the information for them all. After a quick glance, it's clear to see the devs were feeling particularly cruel on some of these changes.
In the Polar Bear stages, they get a power boost to their charges against you, including the weakest charging characters like Dingodile. In the Swamp Tank game, they can activate their shields more often than you. In the regular tank game, they can twist their gun turret 180 degrees in the blink of an eye, while you're stuck with... In the games that involve walking around, everybody seems to be able to walk faster than you. Does everything in this footage look normal to you right now? Well, yes, it is. Until you look at the health, they have 0 health, and yet they can still play. They're not dead, you're just crazy. Crash Bash is the only game on the PS1 that gaslights you. They are literally designed to win, and every single randomly generated element of every stage means nothing to them because they know what the randomly generated element is going to do down to the line of code they were birthed from. And by the way, you know how I said you have to win these twice to get the relic? And in the trophy stages, you can lose as many times as you like so long as you end up winning 3 times before anybody else does? Well, on the relic challenges, you have to win twice in a row. If you win once and then lose, you have to start your winning streak all over again. By the way, if you want to get all 28 trophies to unlock every minigame for multiplayer, you need to beat all 4 bosses and grab a total of 25 gems, 23 crystals, and 21 gold relics on top of the 28 trophies. 21 out of 28 total minigames need to be won twice in a row against the super-powered godlike reflex cheating AI to unlock every game for multiplayer, which is the only reason you'd ever pick this game up to begin with, considering 16 of the total 28 games are basically the same thing as well. And also, tying counts as a failure, so if you tie on your second attempt after winning the first one, you don't get a chance to go for the second attempt again, you just start all over to try and win twice in a row all over again. This isn't even including the loading screens either. In order for you to unlock every available multiplayer party game, in this multiplayer party game, you need 28 trophies, 25 gems, 23 crystals, 21 gold relics, and 4 bosses. Which means, assuming that you go in and come out of each level only 1 time, that's 101 level entrances and exits, totaling to 202 load screens. Times that 202 load screens by the 10.5 second average time that they last, and that means that you'll be spending that much time of loading. How much is that? 35 minutes and 21 seconds. 35 minutes and 21 seconds of watching and listening to just to unlock all of the multiplayer games for multiplayer in this multiplayer game. I do have to address the fact that yes, I am talking about all of this assuming you're getting all 28 trophies, gems, crystals, and gold relics, even though technically you don't need all of them. But let's be realistic. If you've never played this game before and get to a new warp room and then see you haven't got enough of the things that you need, how are you supposed to know which gems, crystals, and gold relics are the easiest to get so you don't waste your time? How do you know how many you'll possibly need for the future warp rooms? Whatever the case, you'll never know unless you either get get all of them just to be safe, or waste a lot of time and potentially even more replays and loading screens trying to figure out which ones are even worth bothering to fight for. It's not good no matter what way you look at it, like an ugly baby. And going back to the crystals for a second, some of these are the absolute armpits, unshaved and unwashed. Not all of them are completely horrible, but taking that aside, they are still replays of the same games again and are all designed to be unfair. And I say it's unfair not just because of the curses leveled onto you and nobody else, but also because that gold relic AI I just talked about, they tend to use it in the gem and crystal challenges too. It isn't quite as ruthless, but it's still much nastier than the trophy challenges, to the point where you don't even think the game is working properly. You have to deal with whatever crippling effect you have on top of some of the worst AI ganging I've ever seen in a video game. These examples are not from the Gold Relic Arena Champion challenges, they're from the apparently slightly easier gems and crystals. Look at this attempt for the Toxic Dash Crystal. Not only are you dealing with the fact that every time you fall off the edge you lose 80% of your speed for 5 seconds, but also with the most aggressive skanks on the PS1 that all banded together to knock me off. There was nothing I could do.
Future Tense, the new level added into the Insane trilogy made entirely from the ground up by Vicarious Visions. It's designed to be the hardest level in Crash 3, and it is the hardest level in Crash 3, which naturally makes it the hardest to speedrun. It's got everything: time crates hidden in death-defying places, moving platforms, spinning platforms, plasma gates that time themselves on and off, enemies that are briefly invulnerable and move in weird patterns, enemies that are briefly invulnerable and don't move in weird patterns, multiple missiles coming at you from the foreground off-screen, the need for you to not get hit at all so you can exploit Aku Aku invincibility halfway through the stage, platforms that become unusable at inconvenient times. This level has it all. Just look at this. Look at this. They expect you to rush through this.
I think it's about time that we move on to Crash Team Racing now, and yes, just before you say anything, I will be using footage from the remake, just for consistency in this video and because it looks nicer. Oh, also, it's the same designed tracks, and it's got the same time crates. It's the same game, just it looks nicer and controls a little bit differently. Plus, with the insane speed you can reach in this version, I think some of the relics are harder to get on PS4 anyway, because it's way too easy to totally overshoot jumps and fly over the boxes.
This game, personally, I ended up finding one of the easiest to platinum, which I really wasn't expecting. Still not easy, far from it, but much easier than the other games by quite a long way. When Crash Team Racing originally rolled around, I don't think anybody expected them to bring the platforming collectathon elements of classic Crash over to the kart racing mechanics, but they damn well did. Not for the regular races, but for the extra challenge races you unlocked after earning the main game trophies. One of those challenges of which being the time trials, rewarding you with the same time trial relics as the previous games. The objective here is the same: rush through the track as fast as possible, but with 3 very important differences. Firstly, you don't unlock a new speed turbo power-up or anything, you just need to perfect the mechanic of drift boosting and use it as much as possible, which is kind of a pain when you need to aim accurately at the time crates while you're doing it. Secondly, time crates are everywhere, so many to the point meaning that you'll have to ignore some crates and save them for different routes on future laps. And thirdly, hitting all of the crates rewards you with a 10-second deduction, which is a massive bonus, and a brilliant reward for bringing in the smashing all boxes mechanic from the original games. With all of that being said though, there were a few tracks here I platinumed by complete accident, which was a good sign. There were 1 or 2 stages where I was able to miss a box, reverse to hit the box, and still win the platinum. And some tracks like Cortex Castle or Oxide Station were so fun to speed through, I ended up earning the platinums without even hitting every time crate, missing the 10-second deduction I figured that I would have needed. But that doesn't mean there aren't some bollock-ripping tracks though, because here they are. First off, Coco Park. Oh. You left. Coco Park is without a doubt the easiest track in Crash Team Racing. It's big, wide, and has no sharp turns at all. But going for that platinum relic for me proved to be quite the tickler, all because of one fatal flaw: the final hill of the course. The amount of times you will try and fail to fly off the edge of this hill to grab these boxes to the left is unfathomable. I've tried multiple speeds from multiple angles and it still seems like total luck to me. And this single Sekiro level jump hiding in the easiest course of the game isn't all. There's also time crates hidden behind the same hill on the ground that you will never be able to see or aim towards before jumping off of the hill that you will need to do to get the boost. You will drive by these things at least once, even if you have a rough idea where they'll be, and on an easy track, missing these really few boxes makes you feel like a complete idiot. And I'm not an idiot, because my mummy told me I wasn't. N-Gage's Lab. This is an awkward ass track to race in while trying to boost constantly and hit all the time crates, mostly due to the endless 90-degree turns and crates hidden behind other corners that you can't quite see around until it's it's too late. Also, at the end of the lap, you get given a ton of 3-second crates all stacked up in a grid, and I, for the life of me, cannot figure out the best strategy to smash them all efficiently without wasting time within the first 2 laps. I wasn't able to get the platinum even by starting the race reversing into them. However you look at it, it's unintuitive and feels like a pointless hurdle that you can very easily mess up, costing you the platinum relic. I also really hate the way the PlayStation logo sticker throbs whenever you speed boost. It's very distracting, and it made me fall off this end of the track at least 6 times.
Is that it? Are we done?
Yeah, we're still not done. Look, we've also got Crash Bandicoot games that came out on old smelly brick phones all throughout the 2000s. Do any of you guys remember Java games on these things? To cut an extremely long story short, Java was the most popular inbuilt mobile phone software for running complicated apps and playing video games on something that looks like a steam-pressed laptop for a business rat. And throughout the 2000s, every single thing you can imagine got a Java game available for mobile phones, and all you had to do was buy a magazine, look for the mobile downloads page, and right under the ringtones and next door to the thongs were all the games you could pay for and download straight to your phone. Everything you can imagine ended up on mobiles, along with our favourite hip-thrusting orange guinea pig. And let's start off with the game that everyone else got if they didn't have a decent mobile phone, September 2004's Crash Nitro Kart, for early 2000s Java cellular telephones. Fun fact, this was the first ever Crash Bandicoot game released for Java-only mobile devices, so my expectations are not very high. I think I'll pick Crash for this game because he definitely looks the most normal. Cortex looks like a moldy banana, Coco looks like an angry young boy with a bleeding mouth, Crunch looks like Winnie the Pooh. So here we are, everybody. Crash Nitro Kart on a 2004 mobile phone. A racing game where you chug along in dead silence. Honestly, to give it its dues, I remember playing a lot worse than this on my old mobile when I was a kid. This doesn't look too bad, and it runs surprisingly slick, but like, you still had to pay money for this, and all you do is hold the top of your keypad up while turning left and right. But if you want to get really old school, you can always use the number pad to go forward, turn, and use items. But at that point, you'll end up with blisters. How the hell did they expect you to do that?
Crash Racing.
Oh, praise Gordon the Big Engine. This game, if you can believe it, is a 2005 mobile phone Java version of Tag Team Racing. They couldn't do the tag team, though, so it's just Crash Racing, which sounds like how my granddad drives. Look, there's even Nina Cortex and Pasadena Opossum to play as. But I'm definitely picking Cortex this time, because Christ almighty, his hair could do with a wash. And my god, yet again, the game is totally silent. It doesn't matter either way though, because even though this looks nice and colourful, it's just a choppier and slower version of Nitro Kart Mobile. And after getting hit by 3 invisible things one after the other, I promptly gave up. Sorry Cortex, we'll drive you to the hairdressers tomorrow.